Hello and welcome to Vinyl Safari. My name is Sean Patterson. In today's episode, I am speaking with Julia Finnegan. Julia is a Canadian singer-songwriter based in Kingston, Ontario, and has quickly become a household name among the local music scene and beyond. Her debut EP, Thoughts Collide, received coast-to-coast radio play on CBC, and in December of 2020, she released her first full-length record entitled Listen to the Wallflowers. I personally cannot recommend this album highly enough. The songwriting is exceptional, laced with subtle and thoughtful indie folk accompaniment and featuring Julia's unparalleled, unique singing voice. It really is one of the strongest records to come out of Kingston in 2020, and as a peer of hers in the scene, that's definitely saying something. We discuss her approach to songwriting, her influences, what it's like having your original song covered by other fantastic artists, and much more. I hope you enjoy this episode, and if you do, please remember to subscribe to Oakridge Ave on YouTube, follow Vinyl Safari on your preferred podcatcher, and share the podcast wherever you can. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy my conversation with Julia Finnegan. All right, Julia, thank you for coming on the Vinyl Safari podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
So, how have you been these days generally? You holding up okay?
Yeah, I'm doing okay considering the circumstance. I'm trying to keep myself busy, and yeah, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Similarly, just trying to keep busy, doing a lot of like behind the scenes type stuff these days, getting our ducks in a row and writing music and things like that. So as I understand it, you just came out with, as far as I'm concerned, a really, really wicked album.
Oh, man.
And I want to get into that a little bit more later, but first I'm curious, I want to know a little bit more about generally your career background as a musician, your influences and whatnot. So how did you get started?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of where to begin. My dad always played guitar when I was younger, so I was always inspired by. There was always music around my house, and also both my parents love live music. So I've been really fortunate to have two parents who are deeply in love with music. And anyhow, my dad used to write songs, and so I was inspired by him and started playing guitar. They gave me a guitar for my 8th birthday. And then when we moved to Kingston, I took guitar lessons at school, and I used to get taken out of class, and I'd go and do my thing. And so I've been lucky that I've been supported since I was very young. And then I started doing shows. I was introduced to Andrew Van Horn. I used to do music in church with my dad, okay. And so he helped me out. And Andrew has this band called the Celtic Kitchen Party. And anyways, so we opened up, I opened up for him for the first time when I was about 12 or 13.
Wow.
And I'd always been writing songs, and he heard my stuff and he said, hey, you should enter this songwriting competition. It was called the Renaissance Music Songwriting Competition. And I've just... huge rambling story, but I've just been really, really lucky, and I've had lots of awesome people who have encouraged me.
That's awesome. It's actually not too dissimilar from my story, except when I was in school, I was pulled out of class to do piano lessons, which I absolutely hated. So I wish I was pulled out of class to do guitar. I would have gotten a few extra years in before I picked it up of my own. Although that said, maybe I wouldn't really have enjoyed it in the same way if I was kind of forced to do it. So who knows? But that's really cool. It's funny you mentioned Renaissance. That's like a blast from the past now. I used to spend time there.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah. Also, I should mention Scott Burns. He was my guitar teacher. He was super encouraging too. He plays in a band called The Stairs, and they're awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wicked. You mentioned moving to Kingston. So where were you from originally?
It's weird. My dad changed. We changed cities because of my dad's job. And I lived in Belleville. I was born there, and then we moved to Peterborough for 2 years, and then moved to Kingston when I was in 4th grade. Okay, so you have been here for quite a while. Yeah, longest I've lived anywhere, but I always feel like I'm obligated to disclose that I wasn't born here. So
Well, as far as I'm concerned, you're a Kingston musician, and you definitely solidified that with this album and the stuff you've done lately.
oh, thank you.
So I guess for context as well, before we get into the record, back around fall of 2019, unless I'm mistaken, you were one of the winners of the YGK Emerging Musician Competition. So
Yes,
what was
yeah.
that like for you?
It was crazy. I was at the time, I was taking a music business course at Humber College, which was a blast. It was taught from more of an industry perspective, more than like an artist centered, kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but I loved it, and I just always try to kind of armor myself with as many things that I can as possible. So that was really interesting. But at the time, I was seeing all of these ads, not ads, but posts on Facebook about this competition. Mm-hmm. And I had a couple people reach out to me saying that I should do it. And so I kind of did it on a whim, hoping that maybe something would happen. And I was very fortunate to be chosen. So yeah,
it's not a fluke, for one thing. I saw the list and I was like, God damn, there's just some incredible talent in the city. And I was happy to see you included in that, because it was just like maybe a few months, maybe in the year actually, before the YGK Emerging Music Competition that I had originally heard some of your stuff and seen you live here and there. And I was like, yeah, this is one to watch for sure.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, it was such a dream. I'd seen Andy Schaaf play there in the winter January of 2019, and Miss Emily too at the Isabelle. And so it was just unbelievable to be able to play there. It's such a dream.
Yeah, it's weird. We have played at the Isabelle Bader, but not in the same way, because it was a live stream. When they were doing their back in August, they did a series of live streams, and we got to play that. But it was kind of a bucket list thing, but at the same time, there was nobody there. So I still have this hole where I feel like I want to go back and play a proper show there when that's possible again.
I'm certain you will. But those live streams were sweet.
That was really cool. That was the first sort of thing that we did that we could feel really proud of as far as live streaming went, because otherwise it was like me sitting in front of my computer or setting up a laptop in our living room jam space with like the worst sound quality possible. But they had like multiple camera angles and lights and fog and all this stuff, and it was really cool.
Man, all of the things that you'd want in a show just without the people.
Yeah, the most important part.
It's crazy how much of a difference that makes.
Yeah, really. I mean, the weirdest thing is just the silence in between songs.
Yeah.
You finish a song, you go down to like take a sip of water or something, and you realize like everybody can hear you drinking or like saying something to the other guys, like, oh, what song are we playing next? Or switching guitars. That's the worst thing, because that takes like an extra 10 to 15 seconds.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was bizarre, but it was nice that they were at least doing that. Because I mean, we would have just been sitting ducks otherwise.
Yeah, totally. Oh my gosh.
So you have done some pretty cool live streams, though. I mean, for singer-songwriters, it's doing the stripped down solo live stream can actually be really nice and an intimate way to sort of reach fans, and you can take requests and stuff like that. So have you been enjoying that over the pandemic?
It's different. It's totally, because you still have engagement, but there's always my heart kind of drops when I start a live stream, because I'm always like, is anyone watching this? And then it's also so, because I've tuned into live streams and tuned out, like I've been that person too. But whenever you watch the numbers and then you watch them drop and go up, and it's just so bizarre. But yeah, it's been really, really fun. People have been awesome with tuning in and being engaged and asking questions. And yeah, it is pretty strange though, because I always find myself stopping in the middle of songs to like read somebody's comment, because I don't want them to think that I'm ignoring them. It's just this, you have to strike a balance somehow. Do you find that?
Yeah, it is a little bit weird. And it's funny. You talked about the number sort of fluctuating, and it's almost like this sort of walking in and out of like a bar situation or whatever, except it takes way less effort. So at least
Yes.
in a bar situation, you know, you've got your friends and fans there and some random people who are enjoying it. They're there for the music.
Yeah.
They sit and they stay, and it takes
Yeah.
effort for them to get up and leave. And also, you're not likely to see that because you have the lights in your face and it's dark and people are moving around. So you don't really notice. But when it's just a little ticker on the camera just going up,
Oh, I know.
it is a little bit nerve-wracking.
It's funny at shows too, because whenever people leave, like they always wait until like they wait for a lull or for you to finish a song, and I know how awkward that is, and so I always try to make an effort. Like, thanks so much for coming, and you know, I appreciate you being here, because people have lives, they have other things to do. But with the live stream, there's not that connection. You don't see that happen really. So you're like, oh man, what did I say that tick them off?
Yeah, you know? Exactly. It's like, oh, maybe like I should have reordered the songs to keep them engaged or something. Or,
yeah.
That's funny though. It's a different world these days.
Oh yeah.
I just pray to God that this sort of starts to go in a more positive direction, because there's only so many live streams you can do before you start to go a little stir crazy.
Oh, I know. Yeah. But I've been loving listening to your podcast too. This has been awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I've been tuning in. Yeah.
It was sort of a passion project. I've been thinking it'd be fun to do for a while, but like everybody's like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to start a podcast? And they never do.
Totally.
So it was a whim. Like I knew Hawksley Workman, who's like a personal hero of mine, is quite active on Twitter. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to DM him and see, like, just take a shot in the dark here. And I was like, hey, I'm starting a podcast. Would you mind being my first guest? And he was like, yep. I was like, well, damn.
Oh, you DM'd him?
I was like, now I have to go and get some freaking microphones, and I have to actually do this. I have no idea how to do it. And then, but fortunately, my brother helped me out. He's tech savvy and had looked into podcasting stuff beforehand. So I had some help there, but it was really surreal. And I've been loving it. Like it's great to just have long form chats with like-minded people, and you learn so much, and people are enjoying it. So yeah.
No, I've had a blast listening to it, because it's been filling the void a little bit for me. I miss live music so much, but it's nice to hear people talking about it like it wasn't a weird dream, like it actually happened.
Yeah, for sure. So I do want to get more into the record. So listen to the Wallflowers. This came out just earlier this month, right?
Yes. Yeah, December 18th. So a little over a week ago.
For people listening in the future, we're on December 28th right now. So what, 10 days?
10 days. Yeah.
Wow. That is, I forgot it was so fresh. I knew it was recent, but man, 10 days.
Yeah.
I must have listened to it probably 7 or 8 times through by now. But
oh, wow.
Yeah, I have to say, I really, really like it. And I'm not just saying that, but
thank you.
So I'd heard a couple of your singles that you put out earlier throughout the year, and I was like, this is like, if this full album is anything like these songs, this is going to be a really, really awesome collection of music. And it was like, there was no disparity between like the sound quality or the songwriting or anything like that. It was just very cohesive, and the songs flow in and out of one another. So yeah, I really enjoy it.
Oh, that's so nice to hear. No, that makes me so happy, because releasing it, I was super nervous, and I've held on to these songs for a long time and just was trying to figure out when the right time was. And there's genuinely not really a right time this year. I don't know if you find that, but
well, we hit April, which is like the time we were supposed to release Endless Nights, and we're like, well, we've held on to this thing for like over a year already.
Yeah.
And we have no idea what's going to happen in the future, or if there will be a better time. So we just put it out. We had this super lame live stream that was kind of like the first podcast. It was just the 4 of us chatting about it and telling stories. But it was okay. I mean, at least it's out there, right? People can enjoy it now. It's sort of flushed out of the system, and
totally
focus on new stuff.
Yeah, you don't get like, it's strange because you don't get a formal release and you don't get to back it up with shows, but there's also, it's such a privilege to be able to release music and to have people tuning in is really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also this thing that, you know, you made use of your time is what my parents keep saying. They're like, you know what, you did something with your 2020. That's what you did. So
yeah, that's a good way to think about it though. So I'm curious, like, first of all, the sound quality on this album is really, really good.
Thank you.
Where was it recorded and when?
So Sean, do you know Jonas Bonetta? Have you met him before?
I don't know that I have. That name rings a bell. I don't think I've met him.
So he performs under the pseudonym Evening Hymns. So that's his band. He's really, really amazing. And anyways, he has this beautiful studio about an hour north of Kingston in a place called Mountain Grove. And Verge Clark actually kind of made the connection for me. And she's amazing. And so then, so I started recording there. And it's just a really easy place to disconnect and write and just focus. So he was spectacular to work with.
Was it like one long session or was it in multiple things? Or
so the first song that we recorded was a song called Plain Jane, and it was just like a test run to see if it was the right match. And Jonas was great. He was like, no pressure if this doesn't work out, but you know, let's try this and see how it goes. And so Plain Jane took more than 3 days, but I was there for 3 days at first. Mm-hmm. And then I went back, I think, for another 2-3 day sessions. I'm trying to remember it all, but at different times in the year. So it's pretty spaced out, but
wow. Well, I have to say it's impressive that it sounds so cohesive, because I know, like, it's hard enough to make, even when you're there for an entire recording session, you do an entire album, it's hard to get everything sounding consistent and flowing well from song to song. It's impressive to hear that this was done so sort of spread out. That's cool.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was really fun. I stayed there. He's got like a little cabin for musicians to stay in, and then I was writing some of the other songs in between recording a lot of the other songs. So that might be why they kind of connect, because it was all within the same kind of mindset, I guess. But
cool. That is a neat way to do it, though. I like that. Like when we recorded, it was like we'd had some of these songs were like 4 or 5 years old by the time we laid them down, and they'd multiple evolutions and everything. But we we were there for 8 days and just recorded it all in one go. You know? And I mean, there's something to be said for that. It's really quite an experience to have that be your full-time job for, you know, a week. But
totally.
But you know, there isn't really any time to look up and take a breather. Like, you're there every single hour. You're recording the songs. You're doing overdubs. You're doing all this extra stuff. But it's interesting to approach it a little bit more sparingly and have time to write and contribute to the rest of the album in between sessions. That's a neat way to do it.
Yeah, it was nice too, because I'd listen to the mixes on my drive home and be like, this is, you know, how I should approach this next time. Or I had time to kind of live with the demos for a little bit and think about what I should do. So Jonas was really awesome with that. Where did you record? You were in Toronto?
Yeah, it's a studio called Pro Gold. It's in sort of the docks area of Toronto.
Cool.
It's really unassuming. Like, it's in the basement of this huge building next to, God, what is it called now? It used to be called the Sound Academy, but now it's like some nightclub. But,
sweet.
But yeah, you'd never know. It looks like a military bunker down there or something.
Oh man, that's so cool.
But it was a pretty cool experience. Yeah.
Awesome.
Wicked. So who were the other musicians on the sessions?
I had a mix of musicians. So Jonas's partner, Kaylee, was pregnant at the time with their first child, Jem. So Jem and Kaylee helped me out. So we'd have Kaylee come in when we were taking breaks. We'd be like, Kaylee, what do you think this track needs? Kaylee plays under this name called Boyhood. That's her band. So she did the drums in Kind of Love. So she is pretty cool to see her do that. And then Tanner Perret, he's in a band called Heaps, who used to be called the Kents. He did percussion and drums. And Cam Wyatt, he did some of the lead guitar parts.
I could tell that one for sure. He's got a very specific tone to his guitar playing. I was like, oh, that's definitely Cameron.
Yeah, and then a guy called John Hines. He plays guitar for lead guitar for Donovan Woods and Kathleen Edwards. I think I hopefully have that right. But he's a friend of Jonas's, and he's a great guy, and it was super fun.
Yeah, that's a sounds like a really awesome mix of artists there.
Yeah. No, I was super lucky that people wanted to be a part of it. So,
how did you find it? Using different musicians for different songs and stuff. I'm sort of fascinated by this because I play in a band. It's the same 4 guys every time. So what's it like working with different artists and sort of making sure that you connect in the same way and get the same vibe for each song?
It's funny because I'm that's definitely a great question. I've always wanted a band, but it's really tough to find people in Kingston because people are willing, but everybody's in a band.
Yeah.
So it's tough and it's hard for me to relinquish control sometimes because I'm used to running the show by myself. And anyways, I'm off on this tangent here, but I was in awe of all of the musicians' contributions because I'm so used to hearing it with just a vocal and a guitar track, and that's it. So I was open to whatever path the song wanted to go down, basically, because there's so many avenues that you can visit. So I was really excited and we experimented a lot with different sounds that we could try.
Okay, wicked. Well, like I say, that they all sound very cohesive, holistic, and obviously the artists you were playing with just totally got each song, because I was listening to it and I was like, wow, like the sensibilities and the way that they're handling these other instruments is really well done, and they don't sort of eclipse your vocals or anything like that. It was really, really well done.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, part of the reason why I'd played with Cam in the past, but Miss Emily has been really super generous to me, and she had performed one of my songs at the Isabelle when she was doing one of her shows. So she had performed Kind of Love, and I was really inspired by that performance, and Cam played lead guitar on that. So I was like, hey, can you do something similar, and we can do this nod to her, basically.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
What's it like to have somebody like Miss Emily cover one of your songs at a gig like that?
It's so surreal and such an honor. I actually missed it. I was doing an art history course in Venice, Italy, which was amazing.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so I was boarding my flight and they were doing the performance, and so my parents recorded everything. And yeah, it's just, I wish I could have been there, but yeah, it's just, I'm speechless, honestly. It's still such a weird feeling to know that happened.
Yeah, that's great. She's awesome though. By the time we release this, she will have been just the previous podcast, which is really good timing because she spoke very highly of you and mentioned that she had covered one of your songs at those shows as well. So this is good timing, actually.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. No, I love her. She's so amazing. I could not say, yeah, she's just great.
Wicked. Well, I am really interested as well in your approach to songwriting. I found listening to the record that, what's the best way to do it? The lyrical content in your songs just fits so well with the melodies and the chord progressions that you're using. None of it feels forced or anything like that. And the lyrics really feel like complete thoughts. Like there's no sort of added stuff in there just to fill out space. And also you're not really taking any shortcuts with getting your thoughts and ideas out there. And everything just, it flows very nicely. So I'm curious to know how you sort of approach a song. Like if you're starting from scratch, where do you tend to go?
most often, like the first idea I'll have is like the hook, you know, like the how. I heard an author interviewed, I wish I could remember who it was, but they write the story backwards. Basically, they know how they want it to end, and then that's how they kind of begin, basically. So I know what I want to say, what the focus is. So like the last line of the chorus is where I start. Okay. And then yeah, lyrics I always write first most of the time, unless I am really hooked on a melody. Primarily, I consider myself like a lyricist first. I like to think that because I love lyrics and words, and yeah.
Well, that does come through. I got that sense that you were sort of a lyric first person. Jonas mentioned he was as well, and there's just it's weird. I'm a music first type person, so I always start with a guitar part or a hook or something, and then I could write an entire song with the guys and have it be totally done, and there's not a single lyric written for it yet. And then I'm like, well, damn, now I have to go and ruin this song with words.
Oh my gosh.
Which is not the right way to think about it, but that's sort of in the back of my mind what I'm feeling most of the time. Sometimes there's like a really clear lyric that fits with a vibe of a song, and it's more natural. And sometimes, very rarely, it will be, I'll have a lyrical hook and that'll sort of spawn the rest of a song. But
yeah,
it's so fascinating to me to hear people who do it the other way around. And I can sort of tell when I listen to it, like, this definitely sounds like it was a lyrics first conception of a song. So
yeah,
that's really cool. I got that sense without you saying it, but that makes a lot of sense now.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I wish I was a music first person, because I feel like I always have the same tricks with melodies and stuff. Like I know what works for me, and what there's definitely, I'm biased with the chords that I use. So I wish I was, because usually with lyrics, I just have more freedom with that.
Right.
I don't know what it is, but
well,
yeah,
it doesn't come across that you like, it doesn't seem to me listening to it that there's any kind of limitation on the color palette there with the music. So
oh man, thanks.
And surely there's something to be said for just playing with great other musicians, right? Like they always sort of impart a bit of themselves on the music and help to push and pull it in a different direction. That's what I really like about like sitting in on a session or just jamming with people that you don't normally play with. It always opens a door in your mind that you didn't know was there.
Yeah, totally. Well, Jonas was a producer, but also like kind of paired as almost like a therapist for me. He'd be like, Julia, because I get in my head so much when I'm recording, and it's just like, I can't do it. And he's like, no, Julia, you can. Like, this is how you need to do it. And this, you need to go to Sad Town, is what he'd always say. If I needed to have like a sad, part, sleepwalking, I needed to go to Sad Town, is what he'd always say. And he's like, don't stay there though.
So, that's funny. That's really funny.
Yeah. No,
we didn't get the same sympathies from Ian. That's not to disparage him. He's a fantastic producer, and I love the guy. But he's very much like sort of more regimented in his approach. So it's like if something wasn't working, he would just tell us straight up. He'd be like, "Don't do that. Change that. Lay off the ride there. Sean, don't dick around on the guitar so much. We'll do that in overdubs, all that kind of stuff." And then for vocals, it was like, all right, get the like main vocal take, double, triple, harmonies, double, triple, all this stuff. And it just happened in a very, I want to say like militarized way. That makes it sound bad, but
no, I mean,
sort of the way it feels.
You have to have a strategy when you go in. Otherwise, you're like me and you obsess over things. And
yeah, well, it cleared my head in a way because I didn't have to have my hand on the reins the whole time worrying about everything. And I would have, similarly, I would have struggled and obsessed about stuff. So for us, it worked well to have that kind of discipline. The Sad Town is a hilarious way to put it. Just getting in the right mood for a take. That is an important thing though, because if you're singing something that's supposed to sound sad, and you're smiling or you're in a good mood, it can come through in the vocal take.
Well, yeah, it's crazy. It was crazy because for Kind of Love, he's like, okay, feel like you're badass, like feel good, confident, all these things. And then with Sleepwalking, he'd be like, okay, think about when you wrote this and like feel, really feel it. Because you can tell if it's contrived, like a vocal take. It's so strange, but yeah, I don't know.
That's funny. So I wanted to ask a little bit about sort of more specifically the content of the lyrics and some of the songs. I get the sense that many of them are sort of autobiographical. You tend to only write stuff like that is about you or some things that happen in your life, or do you ever write sort of story type songs or from different perspectives?
Yeah, when I started songwriting, when I was like 12 or 13 or however old, that's how I started, is pretending to be somebody else, because you haven't had a lot of life experience where you're like, what does heartbreak feel like, so I have in the past, and I wish that I was kind of still, I try to get back to that. And lately I've been writing from different perspectives, which helps me a lot. Probably also because we're not experiencing a lot right now. We are experiencing it, but there's not a lot of human interaction going on. Mostly this record is autobiographical, I would say. And I do tend to focus on that. And I wish I didn't, but it's really hard not to.
Hey, there's a lot to be said for that. I like hearing about people's lives and the music that they write, and especially when it's very sort of metaphorical and it has this really sort of flowery language, not over the top, but it's a really beautiful way of conveying ideas and experiences to people who don't know you. And you learn a lot about artists when they write songs like that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that there's not a lot of that going on this year, and certainly at the very beginning, I started to get so tired of hearing everybody's lockdown songs singing about the same thing, about being pent up and not doing anything. And I was like, I swear to God, I will never allow myself to write a song like that, just because it's been so overdone this year. But that's not to say there haven't been some great ones, because there have been. But it's just, for me, I was like, I just don't want to be, another one of these people writing about the same thing this year,
Oh man, have you listened to, I ask everyone this, have you listened to Phoebe Bridgers' record Punisher?
I have not, but I like Phoebe Bridgers.
So she is just prophetic almost, because she wrote all the songs pre-pandemic and then released it in the thick of it. And she has this one song, Halloween, and she has this one line. It says, I can count on you to tell me the truth when you've been drinking and you're wearing a mask. And she talks about like all of these things. Geez. It's just crazy stuff. But that's a beautiful pandemic record that wasn't even intended to be that.
Yeah, that sort of comes through though, I think. I say that kind of in a hopeful way, because we're putting out a song, and a video within the next few days, I think, that is exactly that thing. It's a song called Living in My Company, which I wrote about living on my own when Jess was away at school for the last, couple months. And I had started that song well before the lockdown happened. And then all this happened. I'm like, God damn, everybody's going to think that I'm just singing about this pandemic. and I had to try and figure out a way to make it just not that. So it kind of turned into this more singing about sort of self-destructive habits and things like that. And there is absolutely no mention of anything explicitly pandemic related. But yeah, I really hope that we don't put it out and everyone's like, oh, here we go, another lockdown song.
Oh man, as you said, it comes through. Like you can tell, unless you're like explicitly saying we're 6 feet apart and I wish we were closer, something like that.
Thank God. There are probably a lot of budding songwriters who are like 13 or 14 who are writing songs exactly like that.
Oh, I would be.
I wrote when I was 13.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Same. So I write now sometimes, you have a bad day, you write it. But
you flush those things out too. The songs that will never be heard. You just sometimes have to get them out of your system.
Exactly. Yeah. No, totally.
Yeah. Hilarious. Where was I going from here? Oh yeah. Okay. So far be it from just focusing on this really depressing year.
Yeah.
What's on the horizon for you in 2021?
That's an excellent question. I'm working on creating some merch for myself, which I'm excited about. Just because I haven't had that before, and that's something new. And I'm working on creating some more videos for this, because it's an easy way to support the record without without interacting with people in person.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I worked on a video with Celine. I know you guys had.
She's great.
Yeah.
You did the video that I was just talking about as well. So there you go.
She's amazing. So we had just finished filming a couple weeks ago now, the Listen to the Wallflowers video. And so that's going to be released hopefully in January. We'll see. She's got a lot of footage to go through. So it all depends.
She's very, very thorough.
Oh, she's yeah. No, she's great. She knows exactly what she needs to get in terms of shots and everything. And I love that. So yeah.
I saw some of the photos from that shoot, and was like, it looks really cool. And it looks like it will go very well visually with the music. Because I had seen the shots, and I think I started listening to the record like around the same time. I was like, wow, this is like the aesthetics here are going to work. And I mean, Celine, you can definitely thank her for that. Did she have Peter there doing lights as well?
Yes, sweet Pete.
He is so good. He made neon bar lights for us for one of our shoots. Like he just
really?
Yeah.
Oh, he's so talented.
Yeah, crazy.
He made them?
Old guy. Yeah. So, well, they're not real neon. It's like faux neon. So he took fluorescent bulb, like bar lights, like just the ones that you see in every supermarket on the ceiling.
Yeah.
And he wrapped them in blue painter's tape, and it looks just like neon when they're on.
Wow.
And we put those in the corners of the stage where we were performing, and it just totally binds everything together in that shoot. So yeah, he's very good at what he does. Oh,
that's in and of itself. He's Celine and I had been working on formulating this. We knew we wanted to create a video together, and then we didn't know what it was, and so we'd been focusing on a different song, and then came to this. And anyhow, she'd asked me about Peter, and I did not know him, and I was nervous about adding another person to the shoot just with everything going on. She's like, no, Julia, it's going to make a huge difference. And it made an incredible difference. He did such beautiful work.
We will definitely be working with him and Celine again in the future, for sure.
Yeah.
It's like a dream team. They just sort of, they work well together too.
Oh, they're so funny together. They're great.
Yeah, I actually went to school with Peter at KC, which is kind of funny.
Did you really?
Yeah, like we had classes together and were generally friendly. I didn't even too much in touch with him beyond that, but I'd seen him around and whatnot. But
yeah,
glad, like it's a crazy world that just somebody like that we went, like an acquaintance really, who just happens to go into the field that you need down the line, and back together, and you're working professionally now, and it's really cool.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, similarly, my friend Maureen Barnes, she is like a dancer and a ballerina, and we'd been looking for somebody to dance in the video, but it's really hard to find somebody who's comfortable doing that, because it's very weird times right now, and I want to be as safe as possible. And so it's nice that it was somebody that I knew. But yeah, Maureen was great, and I'd worked with her before, but it was funny that it had come back again. So
yeah. Good. So I want to get into a few common questions that I've been asking people.
Sure.
First of all, I'm going to put you on the spot here, but if you had to pick your 3 favorite records, like desert island records, what would they be?
No, it's funny. I have been listening to your podcast, and I put together a list.
Yeah.
I put together a list. But I still didn't. You said 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I came up with like 10, and I still had a hard time choosing.
It's pretty impossible to do, really. But I like putting people on the spot sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Mine change every time if someone were to ask me.
It's situational for sure. What's my list here? Raylan Baxter, probably. Okay. His record called Wide Awake got me through some hard times. This is hard, Sean. I don't know what to choose. Ray LaMontagne always calms me down. Another Ray. Probably Gossip in the Grain or Trouble. And then maybe Charlotte Cornfield. Okay. Her record called The Shape of Your Name.
Well, the thing I like most about this question is that I find out about a ton of music that I need to listen to that I've never heard before. So there you go. I need to dive into these people a little bit more.
Man, they're all pretty moody though. I feel like I need.
No, that's okay. That's good. I need a balance. Like I listen to so much upbeat, like feel good rock and roll all the time because, well, especially this year, it's just been absolutely necessary for me to sort of stay sane. And also, that's part and parcel of being in a rock band. That's sort of more of the music we make is for that kind of thing. But it needs the balance as well. And I find I write very differently depending on what I'm listening to. And I kind of get obsessive about a certain sound or a certain record or song even. And it'll be like, hey, I need to write something like that. Or I need to get this out of my system. It's just rattling around in my brain. And I need to try and do something with this vibe. And then once it's done, it's fine. Like you can move on to the next thing. And that's great. But I need to diversify. That's for sure.
I don't know. I like music for different things. It's funny. But yeah, I've been listening as far as like non-brooding, sad records. Have you listened to Inhaler?
I have not.
So they're a band from Ireland. They're great. They have a song called Ice Cream Sunday, which I've been listening to a lot. Peach Pit, I love. Okay. And Half Moon Run, they released a record last year called A Blemish in the Great Light, and I love that too.
Yeah, they're pretty sweet.
That was one of the last concerts that I saw before quarantine. So
yeah. I don't even remember what my last concert was before that. I honestly don't remember. We had a bunch of shows like in December, January, and February. Yeah. And so we were very active performing, but I for the life of me, I can't remember what my last show was.
It's so weird.
I'm gonna have to dig through my brain and figure it out later.
Well, it's also been like a year, so it's easy to, it all kind of blends together.
Yeah. So I'm curious to know if you have any new musical discoveries lately, like anything from this year that has sort of caught your attention.
Yeah, that's a good question too. I'm looking at my list here. There's an artist called Jenna Berry. She's from the East Coast, and she has like I love the way she constructs melodies. It's just almost hypnotic. It's really, really beautiful. And then who else? Declan McKenna. I really like him. Okay. He's pretty cool. Evening Hymns released a record this year called Heavy Nights, which is really, really good.
Awesome. You are like, this is great. We obviously listen to such different styles of music. So like I'm learning a lot right now. Like I talked about this a little bit with Jonas, I think, and it's that I almost get stressed out thinking about how much music I don't know about. That my favorite artist I could have never heard before, which is crazy. So this is the best sort of, it's kind of selfish, but the best thing about this podcast for me is that I get to learn about everybody's favorite artists, and this is gonna keep me going for months now.
What have you been listening to?
Oh God, lots of stuff. But see, I'm weird. I'll like revisit artists that have completely passed me by from like 10, 20, 30 years ago. And like I do listen to new music and stuff, but I kind of find it hard to keep up with. So I tend to let people's like new music, who, even if I'm interested in it or like what I hear in a single or whatever, I'll kind of let them just go and put out other records and stuff and develop, and then I'll invariably like stumble upon them again a few years later and go, why the hell have I not been listening to this? Even though I had the opportunity and knew I liked it. It's really weird. So I've been on a huge Kings of Leon kick of late.
Okay. Yeah.
Because then that's a band thing too. Like when we were on the East Coast, we had only CDs in the van, and just by virtue of the collection of music we had, I brought a bunch of Kings of Leon CDs, and they ended up becoming like the soundtrack to that tour. So
that's so funny.
So we all kind of started to fall in love with that sound and their back catalog. And they have so much music that it keeps me going just listening to that kind of stuff. And they cover so many bases with their various records. But then, you know, I listen to a lot of Hawks to Workman, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of random. Like I'll ping pong around from like new indie rock music and really modern Canadian stuff. Like I like the Dirty Nil. They're a really heavy rock band from Dundas, Ontario.
Yeah.
And then I'll go and listen to Redbone, Come and Get Your Love, or like David Bowie, Golden Years, or something like that. And it's the most weird mix, but it's the common thread is that it just sort of peps me up and keeps me going.
Yes.
That's really what I've been into lately.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I'm feeling more moody, it's like it's Glenn Hansard, you know, some of the more folky John Mayer records like Born and Raised and Paradise Valley. So yeah.
I saw him live my 21st birthday. My mom took me to see him in Montreal for the Search for Everything tour.
I saw him twice on that tour, actually. I was living in Toronto at the time, so I went, Jess and I saw him at the ACC, and then the whole band went to see him at Molson Amphitheater, which was really wicked. It was also I think it was one of the last shows of the tour. And we had been tweeting at him like the weeks leading up, asking for a certain song, and he ended up.
Which song?
Good Love Is on the Way. It's like it's a really wicked blues rock trio song, and he played that at the show. Not that there's any chance he actually got it from us. I'm sure he just
maybe. We never know.
You'll never know. Yeah, but that was a wicked experience because it was very different from the first time, because you're just seated in the arena, and you maybe have one or two drinks. That's it. You're listening to the music. And then at the amphitheater, God, we were way at the back on the field. So we were like standing up, just walking to get drinks every 5 minutes. You know, I don't even remember the end of the concert, but it was a wicked experience.
Oh, a question for you about that concert. When you went the first time, did you notice that the end when he goes, there's like a bright white light and he goes through, and then he like kind of waits for the encore probably back there, but it's just like this very cool moment. I don't know, that
was really cool. And then he came out and he played what's the song on the piano, what was that song?
Is it You're Gonna Live Forever in Me?
Yes,
that one.
That one. Yeah.
It's he looked angelic going up there. I was like, wow.
Yeah, he always has amazing stage setups.
Oh, it was so cool. It's like, can you imagine having that kind of freedom with like what you're doing on stage? Like, hey, I want a door here and I'm going to walk through. That's going to be great.
He also has like the greatest all-star lineup of musicians in his band. Like, imagine being able to just pay to have a trio come around with you and also a full band and all of this extra stuff that goes along with having such an elaborate stage setup. Like, it boggles my mind that, like, you see some of this stuff. I saw Bon Iver just last year in September, October, and their stage setup was so ridiculous. I could not get my head around how they set this up in time for every show and ship it to the next city, you know, hundreds of miles away. It's totally beyond me. But
it is crazy when you think about like that level of shows and like how many people are involved with like crews and everything. It's just insane.
I'm lucky if I can hear myself in the monitor. My bar is pretty low.
Yeah, if people aren't talking in front of me, that's what it's fine if people talk, but if it's at a level where I cannot hear myself, that it bothers me.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so just a few rapid fire questions before we wrap up.
Okay.
Beatles or Stones?
Oh, Beatles.
Okay, that's the same for me. That's fair.
But I love the Stones too, but that's controversial, I know.
Well, yeah.
You gotta choose, but
it is hard. Yeah, it's a pretty clear win for me, but that's not to disparage the Stones. I mean,
no, you gotta choose one. No, yes.
Okay. Road or studio?
Road or studio? I don't know. I miss shows so much right now. I actually haven't had the opportunity to tour before, so that was going to be with this record was what my plan was. But so I'd probably say road because I haven't had the experience yet.
Yeah, well, maybe live or studio, I guess, is a better way to put it. But
yeah,
that does make sense. I mean, we're all kind of pining for live shows.
Yeah.
When we are on the road and gigging all the time, we're pining to be in the studio so that we can get a good night's sleep and not smell like feet all day.
Totally.
Okay. Well, actually, I already know the answer to this. I was going to say lyrics first or music first, but we touched on that.
Yes, lyrics.
Alrighty. Album or singles?
I think album.
Yeah. I think. So far, that has been the answer for everybody, but I'm still holding out for somebody who will say that they prefer singles. I can see that happening. Like, some people just don't, either it's not an attention span thing per se, but they just prefer hearing songs or things in microcosm, I guess.
Yeah, I like hearing the impetus for like the one song that I like on the record, like why that came to be.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And finally, what's one artist or band that everybody should be listening to?
That's so hard. Sean, I don't know. It's Charlotte Cornfield. Charlotte Cornfield is great. I love her. Phoebe Bridgers, Punisher, great record.
All right. Wicked. No, that does it for sure. There is no wrong answer, really. And like we say, like it'll change 5 minutes from now when we hang up, and you'll think back and go, "Damn it, why didn't I think of this anymore?"
I know I'm going to be mad at myself, but I can already feel it.
No sweat. Hopefully, we can do this again sometime, and it definitely will change, I'm sure, by then.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. This has been super fun.
Yeah, well, thank you for agreeing to come on the podcast. Everybody listening or watching, go and listen to Julia's record. Listen to the Wallflowers. It's awesome. And Spotify, Apple Music, and all that. It's everywhere.
Yeah, so I'm working on releasing vinyls in the new year. But right now
I need one of those.
Oh man, thank you. But yeah, right now it's just on streaming platforms. So, but that's subject to change very soon.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Great. Well, thanks so much, Julia, and you have a great day.
Yeah, you too, Sean. Thank you so much.
All right, see ya. Thank you for joining us on Vinyl Safari. If you enjoyed the podcast, please follow Vinyl Safari on whichever podcast platform you're using. And if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to Oakridge Ave to catch the latest episodes, new music, and more. We greatly appreciate your support. You can also follow Julia Finnegan online at juliafinnegan.ca, at Julia Finnegan Live on Facebook, and at juliafinnegan_ on Instagram. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you on the next Vinyl Safari.